Hi, and welcome to St. Paul's Faith Formation this Wednesday evening. We, on this past Sunday, just had the final Sunday after the Epiphany before Lent. And so the evening's story video will include that story. And then it's also the beginning of Lent with Ash Wednesday today. Yesterday was Shrove Tuesday. And as an activity, we are going to make some Lent pretzels with you. So get your dough supplies, make sure you have an adult available to help you as we're going to be mixing and cooking. Thanks for joining us. To make the pretzels, you'll want to gather the supplies and ingredients for the dough. I'm not going to walk you through the making of the dough, however, stpaulsfaithformation.org website on the Lent page, which was sent out in the email, has the recipe for making pretzels for Lent. And so you'll want to take a look at that. It's flour, yeast, sugar, water, and salt. And you can mix that up and then get ready to work through the activity together. We'll show you how to shape the dough and the final stages of making it all come together. Thanks.
This week's story is the Transfiguration and can be found in your Sparks Bible. Peter, James, and John were very excited. They were climbing a mountain with Jesus. Higher and higher they climbed, right to the top. Then they noticed something different about Jesus. Jesus' face and clothes were bright and shiny like the sun. Moses and the prophet Elijah were standing with Jesus, talking about God's promise to save the world. Peter couldn't believe his eyes. Suddenly, a cloud covered the mountain. A voice said, "This is my son. Listen to him." The voice was God. Peter, James, and John covered their faces. When Jesus touched them, they peeked up. Everything was the same as it was before, even Jesus. On the way back down the mountain, Jesus, Peter, James, and John talked about God's promise, but they didn't tell anyone what happened on the mountain for a long time. At the bottom, there's a little piece that you can use for reflection. And here's what it says. Look at a cloud in the sky. Imagine hearing God's voice coming from it. What is God saying to you? I encourage you to talk to an adult about this.
So the recipe calls for 32 different pretzels, but we like our pretzels a little bigger, so we have it separated into less than that. You can do however many you want, depending on the size of pretzel you want. To separate the dough, you just take your big ball of dough that's in your bowl or wherever it is, and take little bits off and try and make equal parts of how many ever you want. We let our dough rise a little too long, and so it's a little harder for us to stretch it out. You should be able to just roll it on the counter in order to stretch it out into a long snake-like chain thingy to form your pretzel. And so you would roll it on the counter. Ours rose too long, so we can't do that.
So Evan is going to make a long rope with the pretzel, and then we're going to shape it into the pretzel, and it's meant to be like your arms crossing over you, and it's to remind us of prayer during Lent. And so Evan is going to show you that formation. Just like that. Great. So you can kind of see how that looks. Some of these have risen also.
Once you have a snake like this, in order to form the pretzel on the pan, you will lay it down in a U or an N shape, depending on which way you're looking at it. You'll cross one over, make sure it's not much of a hole there, depending on how much room you got. And then you cross the other one over, and then you can kind of spread it out a little bit. And then you got your pretzel.
So it looks like your arms crossed.
Now you're going to take your beaten egg, and you're going to use something. We have a little tool for this, or you could use a spoon or anything that works. And you're going to brush or drizzle your beaten egg onto one of your pretzels. Well, all of your pretzels. You want to make sure that you get a good coating over the whole thing. And then once you do that, you're going to take some coarse salt. If you don't have coarse, that's fine. You can just use regular salt. Just don't use as much. Then you're going to take a pinch of it, or a little something, and you're just gonna drizzle it over.
Okay, great. And then you're going to put this into a 475-degree oven and bake it until they're done. The recipe, again, is found on stpaulsfaithformation.org website on the Lent website. We just pulled the pretzels out of the oven, and here's the golden brown color, and that's what you're looking for. Just make sure they're fully done in the middle also. Thanks for joining us for this activity. Thanks for joining us this evening. We hope you enjoyed the story and making pretzels. I hope you're able to share those. There's also a prayer on the Lent page on the stpaulsfaithformation.org website that goes along with the pretzels, and maybe you can deliver some to some of your family and friends. Thanks again. Have a great night.